Clerk will call the roll.
Glenn Whitley, County Judge.
Here.
Roy C. Brooks, Commissioner Precinct 1. Andy H. Wynn, Commissioner Precinct 2.
Here.
Gary Fickus, Commissioner Precinct 3.
Here.
J.D. Johnson, Commissioner Precinct 4.
Here.
Constitutes a quorum.
The invocation today will be delivered by Pastor Mark Wheeler from the Capstone Church in Fort Worth. Thank you very much for being here today to deliver the invocation. After the invocation, please remain standing for our pledges. Good morning.
Morning. Morning.
Father, we just thank you all a real, living prayer, and God, one who truly cares about the concerns of his people. And your word says that when two or more come together in your name and pray according to your will, we will have what we ask for, the desires of our heart. Today, Father, we desire that you be present in all these proceedings from this day forward in this court. Lord, we ask that you knit them together, not as individual precincts or individuals or anything other than one body, with one mind, heart, and spirit, and one desire, and that's to serve you and the citizens of this county. Father, I ask that you give them special wisdom and direction and insight, a special sensitivity to the needs of the people of this county, those needs that are not necessarily spoken or that obvious, but that are prevalent and serious. Father, we thank you for that. And Father, we ask that you put a special blessing, I speak a special blessing over each and every person here today, all those that will be recognized for their service to this county on this recognition day. As a former law enforcement officer, Lord, I speak a special blessing, and I ask for special protection, a hedge, a legion of angels around each and every law enforcement officer in this county, those present today and those that are not. Let them know that you are with them, Father, protect them, and give peace to their families, to their spouses, and to their loved ones, as they go about the business of protecting the citizens of this county and enforcing the laws of this state and this country. Father, we just thank you for all you are and all that you've done and all that you will do. Again, Lord, we look to you for guidance, protection, and in closing, I speak a blessing over each and every person here. I declare abundance and never lack for each and every person. Let them never suffer for their service to this county in any way, shape, or form. Father, I ask that they flourish, let this court flourish, and let they be known for their service to you first and the citizens of this county. We thank you for it in Jesus' name. And everybody said,
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Thank you, Pastor Wheeler, for being with us today. Manius.
Members of the court, we have several announcements this morning. Actually, two announcements there on public health. Item 9I, 4, and 5, both of these are consent. We did put a revised document in your backup material. The only revision is that we added a district attorney's signature page as it relates to both of those. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Court members, you have before you the minutes of our regular meeting of October the 25th.
Move for approval. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Under proclamations and resolutions, I would mention that as we talked about a couple of weeks ago, beginning this month, we're going to, on the first Tuesday, have all of the county's flags at half-mast for in recognition and in honor of those folks who gave their life the previous month to
to our country in either Iraq or Afghanistan. And so today, as was mentioned a couple of weeks ago, our flags are at half-mast for Sergeant Houston M. Taylor from Azle, who died in Afghanistan on October the 13th. So again, we're going to begin doing this in recognition of those who've served our country and who have given their lives in behalf or in defense of our country. Our first proclamation today is a proclamation for a Pancreatic Cancer Awareness Month. Ms. Virginia Griffin is here. If you will come forward at this time, I'm going to read the proclamation into the record, and then I'll bring the plaque down. Whereas in 2011, an estimated 44,030 people will be diagnosed with pancreatic cancer in the United States, and 37,660 will die from the disease, with 2,260 deaths occurring in Texas. And whereas pancreatic cancer has no cure and is one of the deadliest cancers, ranking as fourth leading cause of cancer death in the nation, with no significant improvement in survival rates in the last 40 years. And whereas when symptoms of pancreatic cancer present themselves, it is usually too late for an optimistic prognosis, with 74% of the patients dying within the first year of their diagnosis and 94% dying within the first 5 years. And whereas all the racial ethnic groups in the United States, African Americans with the highest incident rate of pancreatic cancer, between 34 and 70% higher than other groups. And whereas the federal government invests significantly less money in pancreatic cancer research than it does in any of the other leading cancer killers. And whereas the Pancreatic Cancer Action Network is the first and only national patient advocacy organization that serves the pancreatic cancer community in Tarrant County and nationwide by focusing its efforts on public policy, research funding, patient services, as well as public awareness and education. And whereas the network and its affiliates in Tarrant County support those patients battling pancreatic cancer, as well as those who have lost their lives to the disease and are committed to nothing less than a cure. Now, therefore, be it resolved that we, the Commissioners Court of Tarrant County, do hereby proclaim the month of November 2011 as Pancreatic Cancer Awareness Month in Tarrant County. In witness whereof, we've heretofore set our hands and caused the seal of Tarrant County to be affixed this first day of November 2011, and I'll move its approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Judge Whitley, members of the Commissioners Court, and distinguished guests. On behalf of the DFW affiliate of the Pancreatic Cancer Action Network, we would like to thank you for this opportunity to address the Commissioners Court. The Pancreatic Cancer Action Network is the only national organization creating hope in a comprehensive way through research, patient support, community outreach, and advocacy for a cure. I am here today because of the impact pancreatic cancer has had on my life. My brother was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer in 2000, and 6 months later, our niece was diagnosed, the same as her uncle. Although both went to MD Anderson in Houston, receiving the best treatments available, he died in January 2002 at age 59. She died in November of 2002 at age 45, leaving 3 children behind. My brother said to me that although I could not change the outcome for him or our niece, to please work to change the future for others. I began this effort soon after his death and will continue as long as I am able. In September of 2009, my cousin died of pancreatic cancer 5 weeks after she was diagnosed. We are average folks, not famous. Yet about 4 weeks ago, within an 8-day period, we lost Steve Jobs, the technological genius, Roger Williams, the famous pianist to 9 presidents who played such songs as Born Free, and a Nobel Prize winner, Ralph Steinman, who died unaware of his prize. He prolonged his own life using his prize-winning research on immunotherapy that he had designed. So you see, it isn't only my life and the lives of my family members who have been touched by this disease. This is a problem that can affect our entire community. In fact, estimates predict that the incidence of pancreatic cancer cases is expected to increase by 55% between 2010 and 2030. Moreover, an estimated 2,260 will die from pancreatic cancer in Texas alone in 2011, and countrywide it's estimated that 37,660 individuals will lose their battle to pancreatic cancer this year. Because there are currently no early detection tools or effective treatments, just 6% of those diagnosed will survive more than 5 years. We would like to thank the Commissioners Court for your important contribution to this national fight against pancreatic cancer. By declaring November 2011 to be Pancreatic Cancer Awareness Month in Tarrant County, you're helping us to do the critical work of making the public awareness of this disease and its truly lethal nature. We hope by working together with you, we will be able to continue to raise awareness, support patients and their families, and raise funds to find the cure through both individual contributions and federal funding and legislations. I'm here today, and I would be happy to answer any questions that you might have, and would encourage you to visit our website at www.pancan.org or call the toll-free number 877-272-6226 to learn more about pancreatic cancer, our organization and its mission, the research we fund, and the comprehensive no-cost services we provide. Thank you again for supporting our cause and for helping us raise awareness about pancreatic cancer. And I'd just like to show you, this is a picture of my brother. I don't know, I probably bought it last year. And that's a picture of my niece and my cousin. And I do all that I can to raise awareness.
Thank you.
That's my car.
Thank you very much.
So, and I'd just like to show you all my car. This is my brother. He's on my horse. He had a very real sense of humor. And that's a picture of my niece and my cousin that I lost. So this is a very real cause to me, and I truly appreciate all that y'all do. I would like to give you each a awareness band.
Your Honor, if I may, on this occasion, I'd like to remember my brother-in-law, Dr. William C. Bryant, Jr. of Lansing, Michigan, who died of pancreatic cancer 5 years ago, 2 years post-diagnosis. And that 2 years we thought was a long time for pancreatic cancer. It is one of the most virulent forms of cancer that there is, and there is no treatment. I was astonished by your numbers in the African American community, but it doesn't really surprise me, because that community suffers at a greater rate with every disease pathology known to man, and we must do something about that in this nation. Thank you
very much. Thank you, Virginia.
Do you know Eugene Upshaw? He was the commissioner. I'm not that well on sports, but he was in
Football.
sports.
Yes.
Football, thank you. He was diagnosed on a Sunday, and he passed away on Wednesday.
Oh, my goodness.
Thank you very
To
much.
give you an idea of being, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Okay. As we begin our employee recognition, I would say if you look around, this was a very, very big month. As is evidenced by the standing room only crowd at the back. I would also take this time to remind y'all that 11-11-11 is the end of our United Way campaign, and since the court members up here, since we have a little challenge with Fort Worth on who's going to give the most per capita, I would just remind you and encourage you to consider your United Way gift. If you've not already made your pledge, please get that in. I know Commissioner Johnson and Commissioner Wynn and Commissioner Fickus have had United Way luncheon type events, and I'm not sure. I've not had a chance to do anything, but I would just encourage you that as you look at your little pledge sheet, that you consider maybe making some sort of a gift this year if you can. And with that, I'm going to proceed to introduce our 5-year employees and ask you when I call your name or what sounds like your name, to please, similar to your name, to please rise. And then at the end of that, I will recognize each and every one of you. 5-year employees: Maria Barks, Constable Precinct 7. Jennifer Batten, Juvenile Services. Brenda Burks, District Clerk. Hope Cruz, Domestic Relations. Yolanda Garza, District Clerk. Maria Gonzalez, Tax Office. Anna Graham, CSCD. John Hernandez, Sheriff Confinement. Alicia Herrick, Public Health. Alicia Herrick. Ashley Moreno, Juvenile Services. Donna McClung, Elections. Glenda Redeemer, Public Health. Maria Reyna, Justice of the Peace, Precinct 5. Cesar Rodriguez, District Clerk. Bobby Cifuentes, Sheriff Confinement. James Taylor, Sheriff Confinement. Sandra Taylor, Facilities Management. Tammy Williams, CSCD. And Joseph Izargi.
Is that why?
Yeah, well, whatever. Is he here? Raise your hand. Sheriff Confinement. He's not here? Well, I was going to get him to pronounce it correctly since I obviously probably butchered it pretty badly.
Badly.
These are our 5-year employees. Let's give them all a bit. Thank you all very much. I apologize for any mispronunciations. Our 10-year employees: Cedric Bailey, Sheriff Confinement. Andrew Bryant, Information Technology. Doris Frank, District Attorney. Linda Frymore, Tax Office. Melicor Gonzalez, Constable Precinct 2. Pat Houston, CSCD. Jeanette Jones, Sheriff Communications. Tammy Kinzel, Public Health. Lakeisha Luster, Sheriff Booking. Taylor Wynn, District Attorney's Office. Sharon Scott, CSCD. Catherine Simpson, District Attorney's Office. LaShonda Taylor, Sheriff Confinement. Daniel Thompson, Auditor's Office. Cassandra Williams, CSCD. And Jeff Williams, Information Technology. These are our 10-year employees. Let's go ahead. Now for our 15-year employees. Christine Alvarar, Domestic Relations. Monica Andres, Jury Services. You want to go ahead and pronounce that last name since I don't think I did it well? Andres. I did better than I thought. Paul Bell, Sheriff South Patrol. Oh. Brian Burnham, Sheriff South Patrol. Delisa Cunningham, District Clerk. Okay, how do you say the first name? Delita, well, I apologize. Joel De Los Santos, Sheriff Confinement. Camila Flores, Sheriff Confinement. Betty Grimes, CSCD. Judge Cheryl Hardy, County Criminal Court Number 7. An easy name like that, and she doesn't show up. Brad Hearn, Community Development. Bobby Hennessy, Tax Office. Sonia King, Sheriff Booking. Christine Pinkston, Tax Office. Jesus Reynez. Yeah, well, I didn't do too good on that one. You want to go ahead and pronounce it?
Yes.
Yeah, that's it. Juvenile Services. We're going to rotate these things one of these days. Kelly Sobranes, we're going to get that one. Did it sound like it, CSCD? She's not here. Well, so you'll just have to trust that I got that one right and know that I didn't. Jasper Taylor, Information Technology. Monique Thompson, District Attorney's Office. Elizabeth Will, CSCD. Sheila Wynn, District Attorney's Office. These are our 15-year employees. Let's get them. Now again, for our 20-plus, I call them and talk with them individually. To give you an idea, again, this is a big class, as is obvious by our standing room only crowd. 26 folks this month with 20-plus years of service. Wow. The folks that we have here today represent 950 years of service with Tarrant County. So for those of y'all who are celebrating your 5 years and are thinking, well, I took this job and I'm only going to be here for a few years, a number of these folks who are at the 20, 25, 30, and 40 years thought the same thing when they started. And they're still with us. Our first 20-year employee is Debbie Brown with Jury Services. There's Debbie. She started out in Jury Services and has been there ever since. Started out answering the phone and now and she says, now I back up the boss when she's not here. When I asked her about the memorable moment, she said, you know, over the years, I have heard every excuse imaginable. When I asked her what she liked most, she said, you know, it was all the people that she had a chance to work with. She said they're the most friendly people I've ever met, and that, you know, that a lot of people will come in with one attitude about jury service. And by the time the week is through, they've really, they've got a new attitude. It's more of a, you know, we are here and we are serving a purpose, and it is a good thing that we came and we did this. Like I said just a few minutes ago, Debbie talked about how quickly the time had gone by. Debbie, thank you very much for the 20 years you've given her. Next is James Criswell from the Sheriff Confinement, 20 years. There's James. Started out in the old Belknap facility on the midnight shift, then went to the Corrections Center in Green Bay, and now is at Cold Springs. When I asked him about his more memorable moments, he said for around the first 5 years, he was actually the fire marshal trainer and inspector, and that was something that he remembered and enjoyed very much. He said, I love the people that I have a chance to work with every day. He said, and kind of really the element of surprise. And he talked about that in the way of a good thing. And then he said, bottom line, every day I go in, I try to do the best that I can do each day. And James, we appreciate very much that attitude and the 20 years that you've given to Tarrant County. Thank you. Next is Sharon Fagan, 20 years with the county clerk. Sharon started out in the county clerk's office, at the intake office, stayed in the clerk's office, she was basically getting the files ready for court when she started out and verifying that everything was there and that everything that happened was recorded properly. And now she helps folks kind of set up payment plans within the criminal court area. When I asked her what she liked most, it was the folks that she had a chance to work for, working with Tarrant County, and being able to be within a system and knowing what's going on. So she's kind of seen it from the beginning, and now she's kind of on the back end side of it. She said, the people have always been so nice to me, and she said, I really enjoy the downtown area. I enjoy being a part of downtown and just kind of seeing and watching things happen. She too said the time has gone by like a flash. And, we really appreciate sharing the time that you've spent with the county and the 20 years that you've given us. Thank you. Next is Michelle Gutieca with Sheriff, 20 years. Obviously, she's got some supporters over. You brought your cheering session with you, I see. Started off in the sheriff's office as administrative office as a clerk, then moved into the booking area. And then back over into the administration area. She said, it really is like a big family, that she has really enjoyed everyone that she's had a chance to work with over the years. She said, the folks are just around you when you need help. And she talked about the time when she lost her husband to cancer and the fact that, some of those folks who she would have maybe least expected to have been there, were there and supported her and were always there to help when that need arose within their department. Michelle, thank you very much for the 20 years you've given to Tarrant County. Now, the next person I don't think was going to be able to make it today, Dale Gillum, he is here. Dale, stand up. He's standing. And that's why even when some people tell me they're not going to be here, I still go about getting information. And he wasn't sure. I think there was a scheduling conflict you weren't sure about, but he's been with us for 20 years. He started out working in Precinct 3 with Jane Hilger in the constable's office, and he worked the livestock program. And that's not the livestock that we're raising, that's the livestock that we're catching. And when it went to the sheriff's department, he went with it, and then a few years later he went to work for Precinct 5 with Jim Palmer. And I asked him about more memorable moments, and of course it would be the livestock calls. He said they always came in between 1 and 2 a.m. in the morning. And the only thing I can figure out is that when some folks may have gotten out of the bars and they decided, oh, what a hoot it would be to let an animal out and see what happens. He said he does remember an ostrich chase one time, and a sheriff's Skidmore, I believe it was, that was taking the car and chasing this ostrich and hopping curbs and doing everything trying to corner this ostrich. It didn't work. When I asked him what he liked most, he said, I've had a chance over the years to work with a ton of great folks. He said, I love my job. He said, but one of the things I like most is the prospect of retirement. And again, I think you hear it again. Sometimes you hear it said in terms of the benefits, but it's the fact that you commit to public service, and at the end there is a retirement there, and it is a good benefit. Dale, thank you very much for the 20 years. Glad you were able to make it. Next is Cindy Grubb, the 141st District Court. 20 years. Started out in the jury room for 10 years and then became the auxiliary court coordinator for civil courts for 2 years and then moved over to the 141st Court and has been there as court coordinator since then. The most memorable moments, most of the stories, again, it comes from the jury room, and she said, you know, I used not to believe, you know, everybody said when strange things happen, you know, this full moon theory. She says, I believe in the full moon theory. She said, I'm going to tell you, when there's a full moon, there are strange things that are happening. She said some of her more memorable moments were around some of the jurors who would come through the jury room, and she related that Terry Bradshaw had been over there and that he was quite a hoot. And just from, you know, watching him on the television, I can just imagine that he would be quite a hoot. Kenny Rogers, the pitcher, not the singer. Rafael Palmero, the guy from Northern Exposure. A lot of these folks came through the jury room, and, you know, we don't sometimes think about the fact that we all get called for jury duty. Regardless of whether we're famous or not, we get called for jury duty. When I asked her what she liked most, it was the people, the security of the job, and the fact that the county really took care of its people and that we didn't have to lay folks off and that we didn't have to furlough folks these past few years. She said that the time had really flown by, and that she really wanted to thank Linda Davis, Judge Davis, for hiring her. She said, you know, it was something that I, you know, didn't think that much of then, but, you know, now, these 20 years later, she said, I've really enjoyed it. She says, you know, Debbie and I started work the same week. And so, again, I'm finding that more and more often, where folks will come, and there'll be a number of folks that may have started with someone else, and they may have been in the same department, they may still be in the same department. But it's just neat to watch that, and Cindy, we thank you very much for the 20 years you've given us. Next is Russell Holland, the Sheriff's Department for 20 years. Russell's back there in the back. Started out in the old Belknap facility, then moved to the support services, and has been there ever since. When I asked him about a more memorable moment, it was the tornado. When the tornado hit downtown, and he said everyone got called in, and his description was, wow. I mean, what a deal, just watching first what had happened, but secondly, kind of the way everybody had pulled together. When I asked him what he liked most, it was the camaraderie of the folks that he had worked with, the department, the fact that it was it really was a family atmosphere, and I hear that more and more. Time had really gone by quick. Russell, we thank you very much for the 20 years you've given us. Next is Trudy Carley with the Human Resources, 20 years. It's Trudy. Trudy started in the payroll area, and then when HR in payroll, when it became SAP, we created the special department, and she had been on that project team, and then when we started it out, she moved into that area, and she now supervises the HR division within that area. When I asked her about the more memorable moments, it was the 2 computer conversions, and the folks in IT and some of the other folks that are involved with that, I hear that more times than not. When I asked her what she liked most, it was being able to help the employees of Tarrant County. And again, this is one of those departments that basically serves all the other areas, and they take as much pride in serving the employees as our employees do in serving the citizens that come in front of them. She likes working, the difference that she feels like she makes, and a lot of times in people who come to them with life decisions about retirement, about benefits, about things. She says, I love doing what's right. And I think that's just a description of the way so many people feel about that. The benefits, the security. She said really all the people she's had a chance to work with over the 20 years. Again, she said that she thought the time had gone by just amazingly quickly, that the county had given her a lot of opportunities, and that she hopes that she still has. She wants to be around at least another 10 years. And so hopefully we'll be up here, and I'll be recognizing you at 25 and at 30 years. So again, Trudy, thank you very much for the 20 years of service you've given us. Next is Bob Kislow, Sheriff, North Patrol, 20 years. He started out in the old Belknap Jail, and there was an intake as a transfer officer. Spent some time in disciplinary grievance area, and then on courts. But when he was in the courts area, he patrolled, I guess, out at the resource connection, and then has actually moved into patrol. Most memorable moment was getting through his field training so that he could move. He said so that he could move into the patrol area. When I asked him what he liked most, again, it was the opportunity to help people, to be of help, and to be able to feel like he was making a difference. He said, "I love the opportunity, the people that I've had a chance to again work with and work for, and the fact that in this job you never really know what to expect next." He's thankful, he said, to have had a chance to work for Tarrant County. And I'll tell you, Bob, we appreciate very much the 20 years that you've given us. Thank you. Next was Gail Lacy, 20 years with Sheriff. I got word this morning that he was sick today and wasn't going to be able to make it in. So if you see Gail, be sure and tell him how much we appreciate the 20 years that he's given us. Next is Lou Ladd with CCC number 5, 20 years. Started out in the DA's office as a secretary for Sharon Wilson. Our heart goes out to you. She then, and I know she'll have heard that probably by now, and I'll have a phone call from her. Then she worked for Judge Drago in CDC number 4, and interestingly enough, the DA, the prosecutor in Judge Drago's court at that time, was Judge Cummings. She then moved over to the DA's office and had a chance to work with Mike Parrish and with Terry Moore, and then moved to CCC number 5, and is now, which is Judge Cummings' court, and is now the court coordinator there with her. Most memorable moment, she said, was when we lost Chris Marshall in the courthouse shooting, and we've many of us remember Chris and what a fine gentleman he was. And she said, the other was the time that I worked with Mike Parrish and Terry Moore. She said, I really enjoyed that time. She said, I enjoyed it all, but there were some special moments there. What I liked most, loved working with the folks in the DA's office, had some great friends, not only within the DA's office, but also the local attorneys. And I think, she said, there's just been some real close friends that I've made over the years. I absolutely love my job, love the benefits and the security. Lou, you were actually with the Fort Worth Police Department as a secretary, I guess, in the Commercial Auto Theft Division. She said, that was where I started. I came to the county. She said, it's going to really be hard to retire from the county, because she said, I'm going to really miss seeing the folks around here. She came here. She thought she'd be here, like so many have said, just a few years. And she said coming to Tarrant County was really one of the best decisions of her life. And Lou, we think it was also, because we've gotten the benefit of your service for 20 years. Thank you very much. Next is Maria Luna with CSCB, 20 years. There she is. Started out as CSCB as a probation officer, number 1, and then to assistant supervisor at the Miller Street building, and now she is a supervisor with Judge Gallagher. Another one that our heart goes out to you. When I asked her about the more memorable moments, it was, she said, when a probationer completes their time and they thank you for what you've done for them. And she said, a lot of times we see people who, they made a mistake. They just did something stupid. And the fact that we can help them get back on course and change their life and make sure that next time before they do something stupid, they stop and think about it. That's the ones that really make this all worthwhile. And we really believe that, and Maria, thank you very much for doing that. She loves the people she's had a chance to work for. They've always been very helpful and respectful. And she said everyone is just so friendly. Maria, thank you very much for the 20 years. Patricia Melton, Public Health, 20 years. There's Patricia back at the back. Started out in the public health. She said, I was at Lockheed, and in one of the layoffs, I was laid off at Lockheed and came to work for Tarrant County Public Health. She said, what I do now is I am in charge of vaccine distributions, or I take care of the vaccine distribution area. She said the most memorable moments were the school rushes, where we get right before school, and of course everybody's put off getting those vaccinations they need, the flu seasons, and she said then, some of the storms that we've had where Katrina and some of those where the folks have come in and we've had, we've helped those folks kind of bring some normalcy back to their life. When I asked her what she liked most, it was the benefits, the great place to work. She said, there are a lot of changes, but over the years I've had some great folks to work for and with. And she said the time has really flown by. She said, when I started out, we didn't have a computer or email. It was all pretty much by hand. And she said, so times have really changed. Patricia, thank you very much for the 20 years you've given. Next is Pam Musgrove with the sheriff warrants for 20 years. Started out in the old Belknap jail, and then went to warrants and has been over in warrants for about the last 15 years. When I asked her what she was more memorable moment, she said, I love warrants. She said, I originally came here on loan, and then I just ended up spending the rest of her time there. She loves the people she's had a chance to work with, the ability to learn different things, and the opportunity to work in different areas within the warrants area. Like many, she said the time has flown by and that she really, really has enjoyed and loves her job. Pam, again, thank you very much for the 20 years you've been here. Next is Monty Nichols, Precinct 4 Maintenance. There's Monty. Actually, 22 years. He said, I started out as an Operator 1 in Precinct 4, then went to the constable's office, and then said, okay, grass is a little green, I'm going to start my own business out there. And I think was out in his own business for about 2 years, and I believe it was 9/11 came along, and the business went south, and he came back to work for Precinct 4 and working in the labor detail. Most memorably, he says, I have seen a tremendous amount of growth over these 20 years in Tarrant County and especially in Precinct 4. Loves the people, loves the benefits. He's also been one that is, in addition to just working and taking care of the community, he's a past mayor of Saginaw, worked on was also on the council and also on the Planning and Zoning Commission there. His wife just retired from teaching. So obviously, Monty has done a lot, and Monty, we appreciate very much the 20 years of service you've given to Tarrant County. Thank you. Now, next is Judge Phil Sorrells from CCC number 10, 20 years of service. Started out in the DA's office as a misdemeanor attorney, baby attorney like everyone does. And then after that, he ran, and Phil and I were actually running against incumbents when we first met. And as I recall over the telephone, I remember he had his whole family out there. His family, he had his in-law. I mean, everybody was out campaigning for him. And we would sit out at the northeast sub courthouse, and it was pretty cold out there prior to primary. And me and his mother would sit inside watching for people to get out of their cars, and then we would rush outside to get to them before they got to the little marker that says we couldn't give them anything. And we did that regularly for about throughout the whole early voting deal. So I really got to know his mother, his father-in-law, his wife, and him during that campaign. When I asked him about his more memorable moments, he said, at one point in time there was a former Miss Texas who had been the victim of a robbery case, and so the courtroom was packed every day to watch that. When I asked him what he liked most, it was the people. He said Tarrant County is really a great place to work, friendly, hardworking people. I asked him if there was anything else. He said, well, I just assume you not say anything. And I said, well, that's not going to happen. But he said, I'm just happy at having an opportunity to come to work and to really serve the citizens of Tarrant County. And Judge, we are very glad, first, that you came to work here as a district attorney, and now that you serve as one of our elected officials. Thank you very much for your public service. Next is Judge Judith Wells from the 325th Court. Welcome. Started out as the associate judge of the 325th, appointed by Judge O'Reilly. Was there for about 3 years, and then when the judge decided not to run, she ran for the position and was elected. The most memorable moments, again, was the shooting in one of the buildings, but then moving into the new building, the new family law building. And I will tell you, Judge Wells was kind of the representative from the judiciary in that process, and kind of chaired and ran that whole deal. And a lot of the reason why that building is successful as it is, and as user-friendly as it is because of Judge Wells and the amount of work that she did on that. When I asked her what she liked most, she said, even though it's a big organization, it doesn't feel that way. We are really that family. Everyone's approachable. It really is like a big family. And she said, the other thing I love is the chance to make an impact on the people that she sees and has a chance to interact with. Judge Wells, thank you very, very much for the 20 years you've been. John White, Sheriff, Courts, 20 years. Started out in the Cold Springs and then moved into the courts area, worked a time in patrol, worked a little bit in the warrants and extradition area, and is now back in the courts and works out in the juvenile courts area. Most memorable moment, he said, it's really all been a pretty pleasant time. He said, the first week that I was here, one of the inmates had asthma and stopped breathing. And nobody at that time that was around knew what to do. And he said, I had some medic training, and so I was able to step up and to get him breathing again. And he said, for the first week, he said, that's something that still kind of sticks with me. He said, one of the things that I just like most about Tarrant County is the fact that folks care about one another and that they all, do their best efforts in getting along and not trying to be a gotcha type of a place. John, thank you very much for the 20 years you've given us. Next is Rachel Williams with Cscb for 20 years. Rachel started out as a UA tech for pretrial in a part-time position and worked that way for about a year. Then went to Cscb as a clerk and has been promoted to assistant and now is an aide to the regular supervisor. When I asked her about more memorable moments, she said it was the opportunity to get involved in the Toastmasters organization here in the county, and that she was one of the charter members of the county's club. When I asked her what she liked most, it was the opportunity to do things within the county, the extra opportunities to do things, the diversity of the organization, and then also the benefits that the county offers its employees. When I asked her if there was anything else, she said, really, through my whole involvement in Toastmasters, it's been a great experience for me. She's currently the VP of Public Relations and has become very active in that. And Rachel, we appreciate very much the 20 years you've given us. Thank you. The next individual was Edwin Wiseman. He's off and is not able to make it here today, but he's in the sheriff's area, in the courts area, and so when you see him, please, you're here. Okay, come on down. This is the second time this has happened. I try to talk with folks, and sometimes I miss it, and I apologize very much. So tell me a little bit about your time with the county. Did you start off in the jail area? Come on up to the mic. We won't bite. This will be easy. It'll be pretty painless. So you started off in the jail area?
Yes, sir.
And then from there, where did you go from that area?
Courts.
The courts. And have you been in the courts then since that time?
Yes, sir.
What area in the courts do you work in?
Juvenile.
Oh, okay. So you're out in the juvenile area.
Sir.
What do you like most about working for the county? Here's the way. It's the people I had a chance to work with. The sheriff does a great... It's been so neat being able to work for our current sheriff and all of my supervisors.
You love the county judge?
And I love I apologize for not having got a hold of you. And again, thank you very, very much for the 20 years of service. I'm going to ask this question. Did I talk with you? I thought I had, and here's technology works again. I must have saved it, or I must not have saved it, canceled it, and so when she called it back up, it called back up blank. Because as we sat here and talked, I said, I talked with him. But there's nothing on my screen. So I know, JD. Go ahead and say it. Now, we're going to leave the 20-year employees and move to the 25-year employees. A lot of 20-year employees. In fact, there were 20 20-year employees. Our first 25 years is Deborah Champlain with the domestic relations area, 25 years. Started out in domestic relations as a paralegal, was promoted to a probation officer, and now is serving as a civil probation officer. Most memorable moment, she said, I can think back over some real crazy cases that we've had over the years. She said, I can remember one person coming into our office who was actually receiving, giving, and paying child support. So it was in all three imaginable areas of the deal. When I asked her what she liked most, she said it was, again, putting people on the right path for life, encouraging fathers to get involved, the freedom that she had to get her job done, the benefits, and she said and the fact that we really are a family unit in our area. And Deborah, we appreciate very much the 25 years you've given us. Next is Helen Ferris, County Clerk's Office, 25 years. Started off in the mailroom and was there for about 6 weeks, and then the county court at laws. She moved over there in December and was a new filing clerk in that area, and now is the supervisor for the county court at law clerks. When I asked her about the more memorable moment, she said, when I started here, everything was done by hand. And now it's all being done by computers. And she said it's been quite a change from that standpoint. She said, I absolutely love working and having an opportunity to work in the old courthouse. The people that I've had a chance to work with and for the job, and she says, you know, I just absolutely love working here. And Helen, we appreciate very much the 25 years that you've worked for the citizens of Tarrant County. Thank you. Next is Chevron Hill, probate court number 2. 25 years with us. Started out in probate court number 2 at the age, here he is, I'm going to tell him, at the age of 18. Worked briefly for the auditor's office, but then came back. She said, I've had 2 children while I worked here, and I've been able to watch them grow and to grow up as I've worked here with the county. She said, I absolutely have loved the people who I've had a chance to work with. They're all like a big family. She said, Judge Furchill has really been a mentor, a father figure to me. She said, you know, her grandmother, Cleo Pierce, worked for the county for over 20 years. And she said that, you know, that was a sign to her that this was a great place to work. She said really over the years that she said her coworker Charlotte, her grandmother, her judge, all of her folks have really been inspirations to her in her career and in her life here with the county. Chevron, thank you very much. Well, I hope that this next person is still on vacation. Sherry Willard, 25 years. Whew. I thought we were going to have another Edwin. I'm a little wary of my own stuff now. 25 years, sheriff warrants. Please, as you see Sherry over the next couple of weeks, thank her for her 25 years of service. Next is Juan De Leon with the District Attorney's Office. 30 years of service. Started out with the Fort Worth Police Department, was there for about 7 years and then came over to the county. Started out working on as a result of a grant for the Crimes Against Children's area and is now in the gang and homicide unit. When I asked him about a more memorable moment, he was here really when we started the Crimes Against Children's unit. And they started the videotaping, and I had an opportunity to serve on the board of Alliance for Children for many years, and that process, the process of taping and interviewing the children via that is such a better way of doing it so that the children do not have to repeat the story over and over and over again. And so, you know, that was a memorable moment and one that I think is still having a tremendous impact upon folks. When I asked him what he liked most, he said, it's the folks that I've had a chance to work with. He said, it's really everything about my job. He loves coming to work every day, and he said, you know, when I get to the point that I don't, then that's probably when I'll stop. He said, I really enjoyed working for both Tim and for Joe now, and so, Juan, we appreciate very, very much the 30 years you've given us.
Your Honor, you started today's ceremony honoring veterans from Tarrant County, and I'd like to recognize it, if I may, a friend of mine who served 2 terms in Afghanistan. This is his first day back to work. Gail Lacy.
Welcome back, and thank you very, very much for your service. Next is Don Dalton, Juvenile Services, 40 years. started out in juvenile services, has been there ever since. Basically, he's now in the section that takes the cases to court. When I asked him about his more memorable moments, he said, you know, over the years there's been a lot of success stories. And he said, those are the things that stick in my mind. He said, I could remember the bad things, I could remember the failures, but he said, what I choose to do is I choose to remember the success stories, and those are the ones that mean the most to me, and it's what makes this such a great place to be. He loves the people. He loves how professional everyone is. He said they are his best friends. The folks that he works with are his best friends. He said, this is the first and the only job I've ever had. And he said it's the first and only job I've ever had. Don, again, thank you very, very much for the 40 years you've given us. Let's give him one more big round. Now, as I said earlier, 950 years of service to Tarrant County. We thank every one of you for your commitment to public service. Thank you again. We have refreshments. There's Wilder. You better get there quick because he's going to be back there. He's a Lincoln, so he has to get a head start. 504C. Thank you again. We're going to have to get that. I've got to leave quick, ma'am. What did you do? What's in his drink? Move on.
I don't think we're going to have any cookies left this week.
That was fun. Okay, we'll go ahead and start it. Board members, you have before you the consent agenda.
Move.
Move for approval.
Second.
A motion is second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Mr. Maines?
Thank you, Your Honor. Members of the Court, we have one item for you this morning. We're requesting that the Court approve the submission of the FY12 Indigent Defense Formula Grant to the state.
Move approval.
Second.
A motion is second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Sugar? Oh, they're not counted.
Members of the court, we could go to item E. We're requesting that the court approve a professional services contract between Tarrant County doing business as direct and MHMR of Tarrant County.
Move for approval.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Move to receive and file personnel agenda.
Second.
A motion and a second to receive and file personnel agenda. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Judge, if I could take just one moment. I want to remind the Commissioners Court that benefits enrollment actually starts today, and employees will have through November 16th to get their benefit elections made for next year. And if the court recalls, for most employees, this is the only time that you can actually change your elections for the upcoming year, which again begins January 1st. So just as a reminder, we're starting today, and if the commissioners or employees have any questions, of course, we're always available to assist.
Thank you. Thank you. Ms. Brewer, whoops. Sorry.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'd like to ask permission to submit a grant application to the Texas Department of State Health Services to address infant mortality, and this would be an opportunity to work through our Infant Mortality Coalition of Tarrant County, so we're looking forward to that opportunity.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Fickus, I believe, has an interlocal agreement.
I'll move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Any appointments? Then you have before you the claims, including the addendum.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. No briefing items?
Not at this time, Your Honor.
Then we will recess our open session to proceed to closed session to discuss items exempted under sections 551.071, 072, 074, 076, and 087 of the Texas Government Code.
Call the meeting back to order. There being no business to act on, I declare this meeting adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.